Hello YouTube. It's been a little while since I've made a video. Some of you have been concerned. Some of you have speculated in the comments that perhaps I was behind bars. Well, not yet. I will share this little bit of information with you. I'm no longer in Washington, D.C. anymore. Now, the reason I'm not in Washington is because it has been suggested to me that it would not be a good idea for me to be in Washington when things go metaphorically boom. You see, I've shared some information with the media, newspapers, that the Department of Justice will find embarrassing. Embarrassing, you see, because I'm not supposed to know this. And now I'm going to share it with you. What I shared with the newspapers is that the Department of Justice has a criminal database. And that database has been corrupted. And this corruption has led to dozens, if not hundreds, of innocent people going to jail. Yes, and these people, as you can imagine, are upset. And they're trying to get some satisfaction from the Department of Justice, but the Department of Justice is stonewalling them. So they're not responding to their Freedom of Information Act lawsuits. And of course the reason for this is that the Department of Justice doesn't want to admit that their criminal database has been contaminated because they're afraid that everybody will then start suing them, claiming that, well, our records are screwed up too. Now, how did that database get corrupted? And how do I know about this? Well, because I am indirectly kind of responsible for the corruption. Let me explain. And to explain, I have to go back in time to say 2002, 2003, 2004. Now in 2002, I worked for WorldCom, and I was a whistleblower. I tried to expose some fraud that I witnessed while I was there working in their accounting department as a consultant. And I was threatened by the chief of staff for some congressman, Micah, I think, who was my congressman from Florida at the time. And he told me that I would never work again. And the Wall Street Journal also wasn't very helpful. Anyway, this annoyed me, so I decided that I would cause trouble. So how did I cause trouble? Well, I got involved with some similarly inclined laid-off programmers, and we raised holy hell with the H-1B visa program, which at the time was coming up for renewal. See, it used to be that the cap was $195,000. I know this is boring, but because of us and the pressure that we put on Congress, they didn't renew that law, so it went back to $65,000. Well, that means that companies like Microsoft and Apple were no longer going to be able to save $40,000 a year by replacing an American with an Indian programmer. Now, each one of these H-1B visas was for, I think, like 3 or 5 years. Let's just say 3. So, each one of these visas was worth over $100,000 to these high-tech companies, right? And we took $130,000 a year off the table. And by the way, that visa cap has remained at $65,000 for ever since. How did we do that? we went to the law firms that these high-tech companies had hired to handle the H-1B visa applications. We hacked their shit. We found the corruption, and we shared it. Not only with the press, but also with certain members of Congress. Bernie Sanders, Tom Tancredo from Colorado, and Lou Dobbs was also very helpful. As a matter of fact, it was my work with sharing these ill-gotten gains with the media. That's how I got in Time magazine. So if you go to the 2004 Time magazine issue on outsourcing, you'll see a picture of me in there. Anyway, so after I had finished causing mayhem, I decided that I would go and become an engineer. So I went to school, got a couple of degrees in engineering from the University of Central Florida, and in the early 2011 decided to start my new career. But no one would hire me. Why? Well, in the spring of 2015 I found out why. It's because apparently I annoyed the wrong people. So they had the ability to alter a criminal database in Miami-Dade County, Florida, to cause my records to be conflated with a convicted drug dealer by the name of Lorenzo Evans. So whenever I went looking for a job, it came out that I really wasn't Billy Johnson. I was Lorenzo Evans, a convicted drug dealer. So no one wanted to hire me, and no one bothered to tell me about this problem. But I finally found out. When I did, I became very upset because I was told that it would take $20,000, $30,000 for a lawyer, and it would take 35 years to clear my name. And by the way, I couldn't sue anybody because of something called sovereign immunity. Well, I didn't really have that much money, and I didn't really have the time to wait around to have my name cleared, so I called up the FBI and threatened them. I reminded them of some work that I used to do for the government and how that work was abused back in the late 80s and early 90s, specifically in the 1988 presidential election, and how it was used to eliminate a senator from Colorado by the name of Gary Hart from competition. And yeah, so I threatened them. I was to clean up my record, or I'm going to frickin' tell everybody everything I used to do with you guys and all the illegal stuff that you guys have been up to. Well, of course, this upset the FBI. But what really upset the FBI was when they found out that I had a brother. And that brother worked for the Capitol Police as a database administrator. So they were concerned that my sibling might do something rash. So they transferred him to accounting. And they gave the databases that he was administering to another man who was incompetent. And that man screwed up those databases. And those databases then in turn screwed up the Department of Justice databases. Oh, the irony. And unfortunately for all involved, I found out. And I've decided to share that. Now, this information that I've given the media has to be verified, has to find another source. When that happens, there's probably going to be a bit of a shitstorm. And it was decided that when the shit hits the fan, I should probably be as far away from Washington, D.C. as possible. Hence my new location, which unfortunately I'm not going to be able to share with you, but it is quite comfortable. Anyway, so that's what I've been up to. Sorry for the delay. And, oh yeah, by the way, there will be no blue wave in November. It'll be more like a red tide. Anyway, enjoy your day.